Says we're recording, but I didn't hear a message.
Yeah, I didn't either. I do see the record button, so we'll get started there. Okay, councilors, everyone's got their agenda package with everything included in there. If I can get a mover and a seconder to open the meeting, please. Peter and Belinda. So moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that we do call this regular meeting of council to order Wednesday, May 20th, 2020 at 6:16 p.m. All in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Okay, item 2 is review and note any changes of agenda. And we have the item 3, approval of the agenda. There was none that staff had brought forward or anything. So I need a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented. Drago to move it, second by John. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by John Perrock. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Item number 4 is declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, declaration of conflict of interest. So council, you can do that anytime. You can do that now and or anytime throughout the meeting. There being none, we'll carry on. Item 5 is adoption of the minutes. A mover and a seconder, please. Belinda and Peter. Moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the council, the corporation, the township of Hornpain does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, May 6, 2020 as distributed. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And item number 6, any business arising from the minutes? Okay, there being none, we'll carry on. 7 is new business, 7.1. I'm seeing 2 different parts here. Just a second. Sorry, I'm in my wrong agenda. (7.1) Open discussion and council deliberations 2020 water and sewer rates. And I'll open the floor up to Melissa for that.
So I did get a few comments from question from Cheryl at council meeting last council meeting, and one from Drago as well, which I documented in both of in the report that I compiled, and then I got a comment from Cheryl, which I also documented in that report. So in the draft water and sewer bylaw, in regard to Drago's comments, I put in a draft what it would look like for a 1% increase, and then also a schedule for a 0% increase. So that's on the floor tonight for council to discuss.
Okay, thank you for that, Melissa. I want to say too, that's really, like, we didn't get many response from the public, but this is the first time we've done it, so it might, as it plays out, we could probably get further response in the future, hopefully. Yeah. So I'll open up the floor for discussion on the 1% and the 2 differences. Does anyone want to speak to that? Drago, go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, thank you. Through the mayor, I'm not going to go on ad nauseum. My comment is I agreed with the recommendation from staff, number 1. Number 2, it's paramount to get $25,000. I said that last meeting. I also said it to an email to the treasurer. I have no problem transferring $10,000 to make the $25,000 amount, because I think it's paramount if we act on those, because every time we run into a problem, it becomes a $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 problem. So let's be proactive than rather reactive, and I agree with the treasurer. Thank you.
Okay, so just to wrap up those comments, Drago, you're saying that the $10,000 difference, we should transfer that from our accounts into there, into the
That's
water
correct.
and sewer rates? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is there any further comments on that portion? I just have one question, Melissa. In the original, I'm not seeing it right now. In the original amounts, it was originally at 15,000, and we're putting an extra 10,000 to bring it up to 25.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I'll open a discussion for council. John, go ahead. Councillor Paroff.
Yeah, I do like the idea of transferring that 10,000. But before we go any further, can I have just an explanation on the water and sewer reserve balance? I'm just not what it's for.
Sure, we can definitely give you some clarification, and I'll address that to Melissa.
What, you wanted to know what the balance is for the water and sewer?
No, sorry, Mayor. I just want to know what the sum is and if it's earmarked for a special project down the road.
Actually, Gail and I were speaking about that a little bit today. So I think that we came up with the fact we'd have to go look back to see what exactly council established that reserve for. So we were kind of under the assumption that it's 50% water, 50% sewer. But we did earlier, or well, back in for the 2019 funds, we did put some a substantial amount of money in that reserve to cover some of the capital projects that we didn't budget for this year. That might be coming up this year. That's going to be a substantial amount of money. But if you just give me a sec, I will just pull up to see what the balance is.
Does that clarify your question, John?
Yeah, it certainly does. I'd
Okay.
like to know. I'd like to know what the total reserve is for, if it's earmarked for something, but at a later date, of course.
It's showing on the report that it's 283,000. Is that the correct amount, Melissa?
Yeah, that's correct. So we put in $30,425 from our regular budget that we budgeted for in our water and sewer rates last year for 2019, and then we put an additional $215,875 this year to go towards the capital projects that will be coming up in the next little while.
I think just to further clarify too is when this was originally set up, this reserve, so there's some intent there that we're unsure of because you were talking that it was 50%, 50%.
Yeah, that's just an assumption that we're making. We'd have to go back and look to see exactly what it was established for, because that's just what we were thinking off the top of our heads.
Okay, that would be a great thing to look up because too, we're in our strategic plan, we have the new water management plan that we're going to plan for, correct? And we can update whatever those strategic goals were. Okay, so continuing on with the conversation, is there any further discussion on, go ahead, Peter, Councillor Kistemaker?
I was just asking, Madam Mayor, for what Councillor Stefanik was asking, the 15,000 up to 25,000 that's what we're going to put into fixing the infrastructure, like towards the infrastructure replacement?
Yeah, particularly for valve replacement.
Okay, then I'm fine with what Drago said. My biggest concern is I would really like this, if at all possible, if we can keep it at 0%, which sounds like we could do. I'm okay with everything that's being presented.
Okay, thank you, Peter. So is there, there's a few different documents here during this open discussion, and I don't want to rush you through them. So there's the initial report that Melissa did up. Thank you so much for that, Melissa. Just talking about the discussions and the comments that were received and some background on that. And then the full presentation that Melissa presented to us last council meeting is there, and then the draft bylaw. So I'm going to open the floor up if council has any discussion or comments that they want to discuss with the draft bylaw or have any questions. Go ahead, Gail.
I just wanted to let you know, I can't pull up any of my attachments now for some reason. So that's what I'm doing. If you're wondering what I'm doing over here, I'm just trying to pull up the agenda attachments. I can't pull up the agenda at all.
Oh, we want to try going.
I just had to sign back into it, Gail, and then I could open them.
I shut it on and off and whatnot. I'll keep trying. So that's just what I'm doing.
Okay. As an alternate measure, Gail, maybe try and sign in. Is it on the website? The attachments? You might be able to get them there as a secondary measure. You're muted.
I forgot about that too. Yes, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so back to the discussion. I just had a couple of comments. I'll wait for council to see if they have any. In the proposed bylaw, Melissa, I see that there's highlighted the Public Works Manager. That's in addition to the existing bylaw that we, like this is the bylaw that we usually have, and then this is the addition to it under the SDR recommendations.
Yeah, because it used to say road superintendent, so I just changed road superintendent to public works manager.
Okay. Is there any other upgrades to the bylaw that I know we've been keeping notes to bylaws, and then when we do the big upgrades, was there any other upgrades that we did to this bylaw?
There isn't this time. However, between Gail and I, and probably it would be council decision, was to talking about, hold on a second. Four 4.3.2.
4.2, is that what you said?
4.3 subsection 2.
Okay.
I know that's been a contentious issue in the past, and we kind of just left it as per status quo. So I don't know if that's something that council would want to change or leave it the same.
I'm wondering if we look into this with our, I don't have our strat plan, or I can look it up actually, because would that be included in our plan that we're gonna, the master plan that we're gonna do for our water and sewer? Is maybe that would fall under implementing, giving the choice to implement a water meter use rate in there, if that comes out as part of the plan?
Well, I think it came up in previous discussions. I'm not exactly sure where, but just because somebody isn't using the water, they should still have the obligation to pay for our infrastructure, just like everybody else in the community is. So giving a rebate just because you're not there, it's to council really, but we still have the bills to pay and we still have the infrastructure to maintain. So that's just a point to take into consideration.
Right, right. Any questions on that topic or from council? Go ahead, Gail. Yes, go ahead.
Just a comment that was dealt with at council. I'm not sure how many years ago, Drago. I don't remember if you were on council at that time, but that was taken out of the bylaw, and there was a huge public uproar, and it was put back into the bylaw. Not to say that it's right or wrong, but that it was an issue probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe something like that.
So a question for Gail. There's probably likely some work to do with this bylaw as we move forward with our new master plan, that it'll there'll be some changes, adaptations to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it will evolve.
Yeah, okay. Belinda, did you have a question?
No, I just remember it being an issue, and I can see it being a huge issue.
Okay. Okay, so is there any other further comments from council on, and we don't have any people online yet either. I'm sure this is why Sherry wanted to be online. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Through you, Mayor. Basically, this is a living document. It's not written in stone. It'll be changed accordingly. Maybe this council, future council, I think this is a good stepping stone, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Drago. The one part that I wanted to address was just in the Schedule B where we have the service charges. I know we increased the new connection to water distribution system and the new connection to sewer system in the past. I think that fee was increased to 200. I'm thinking that needs to be looked at again in the future, that we need to get some good figures on that, because there's no way that if you're putting brand new infrastructure that would cover the cost. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. Schedule E, daily rentals. Can someone please explain how you got to that number and what it's all about?
Yeah, we definitely can do that. I think Melissa can take that.
Maybe Gail, if you want to take that. I don't think that I was too involved in establishing that, but I do know where the amount comes from.
So what happened with that was there are some people doing daily rentals in town, and there was no way for us to recover any costs from that. We didn't have anything in the bylaw to account for that. So what we did was split up the annual rate into a daily rate, and it's basically an honor system that they report every, I think it's monthly. I'm not sure if it's monthly or quarterly actually, but they'll fill in their sheet, they'll bring it in, and then we bill them for the days that they have reported that they've rented out their rooms. So they pay their basic fee, like the basic fee that everybody pays, and then this is on top of that. Does that help?
Okay, how long has this been in place? Or is this new?
It's probably 3 years, maybe something like that. I'd have to look back and see when it came in.
Oh.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I'm thinking we did it with the update in 2017, because it was right when I first got on council. So it would have
3
probably
years.
been, yeah.
That took a lot of hours and time. We discussed it about 3 meetings in a row. Major discussion took place regarding this issue.
And John, just to clarify, like this would be a building that has multiple units. So they would probably be getting charged the flat rate on one unit at the residential rate, and this would be in addition to for their second unit.
Okay, thank you. Is this would this affect if the hotel comes here and is constructed? How would this affect that, or would it? Or the other units that he wants to build?
We would probably establish a multi-residential rate agreement, just like we have with a couple other properties in town.
Okay.
Just my assumption. That
All
would
right,
be
thanks.
obviously.
There is, if you look at Schedule A, there is a portion for hotels and motels that are covered in there. And I think that's the other portion too about residential units, multi-units. I think there is some, we've been talking about at the Housing Task Force about looking at that, trying to improve those rates and for people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, back to, is there any other further comments on the water and sewer rates and the bylaw? As you see in Melissa's recommendation, I'm totally for the 0% increase this year. Okay.
Just to further talk about the 0% increase, if we were to go that route with 0%, I think that maybe we should still increase the bulk water sale by at least 1%.
Okay, is that in the bylaw, the bulk water sale?
Yeah, it's in Schedule B.
Schedule B. Okay, and why do you recommend that, Melissa? Is that just to carry on with inflation, or?
It's not very much money that we make off of those, and I think that we should carry on, yeah, for inflation I think at least 1%, if not 2%. But it's up to council. But yeah, it's not. We don't make very much revenue off of that, and it's a lot of work.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Melissa.
Actually, maybe it was last year or the year before. I'm not exactly sure when, but we did just implement the minimum 5,000 imperial gallons. That wasn't always in there, and we just did that within the last few years.
Okay. Councillor Kistemaker, Peter, you had a question?
Yeah, Melissa, can you explain and give an example of bulk water sale, just so I have it clear in my head?
Good question.
So Bill, sorry, somebody, a company would come and buy water from us, and then we would, they would hydrants and then like their tankers or whatever, and then we would bill them for it.
Oh,
I'd agree with Melissa. I would agree with what the treasurer is recommending then.
Right.
Gail, do you have any thing to add in regards to that?
I would be in favor of doing a 2% because it's not a high rate that we charge to begin with, and I think that it's a fair price. I don't think anybody would have an issue paying that.
So,
Any other comments from council? Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
thanks, Mayor. Obviously, some of the customers would be CN or Via Rail major customers to Councilor Peter. That's past history. Thank you. 2%.
I'm wondering, I have one question for you, Melissa. Is there, in other communities, have we ever looked at what other communities charge, like to see if we're way below? Because I'm wondering, are we even online for like what a residential person would use? Like I wouldn't want to be charging too little. Oh, go ahead, Gail, sorry.
I can never figure out where to put my hand. I don't know if there was ever a comparison done. I know that rate was originally, I wasn't involved in it, of course, but I know the rate was figured out using the cost per liter for the making of the water.
Okay.
So it should be, I'm thinking it should be equivalent or more than what a residential would be. But I'm not aware that there was a comparison made. There could have been, but I wasn't involved if there was.
Okay, maybe that's something we can look at in the future. Okay, I'm good with Melissa's 2%. Any other comments from council? Okay, so next steps, Melissa, we'll be passing these water and sewer rates at the next meeting. And you'll have the updated bylaw and everything on our next meeting, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So just to clarify, for the next meeting, bring it back with a 0% increase and taking 10% from the reserve.
Okay, council, is that the direction?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, okay, and a 2% increase to the bulk.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, right on. Thank you for all your work, Melissa, and all the staff who support you. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so moving on. Item 8, petitions, there's none. 9, disbursements, none. 10, we're moving on to managers' reports. In your council package, you'll see the resolution. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Drago. And Peter. So moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the council, the corporation, the township of Hornpain does hereby acknowledge receipt of the manager's reports provided at the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. And I open up the floor first for our CAO report. Do you have any comments do you want to make to your report before I open the floor up for questions, Gail?
Just a couple of things. I'm still trying to pull that up. I had it up and it closed on me again. So I just wanted to say that Dwayne will probably have an update on the parks for the outdoor recreational facilities. I'll let him cover that, and Stacy will probably have an update for the official plan information. Since those two reports came in, there have been some changes. So I'm just going to pull this up. In the meantime, if you have any questions, I'm just going to try and bring it up here so I can look at it.
Okay, do you want us, Gail, do you want us to move on to the next report and come back to yours while you're trying to bring it up, or?
Well, no, you can ask questions if you have any.
Okay, I'm going to open up the floor. Gail's report is in your packages. Is there any questions for Gail about her report or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Belinda Kistemaker.
Can you just give us the program that was canceled, the GHG program? Can you tell us what that was all about?
Yep, there were 2 years where that program was offered, and it was to do with reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's greenhouse gas. That's what that stands for. So we applied for some work at the arena, and I think it was about I can't remember, Melissa, the value of that, $200,000 or $300,000, I think, of work. We got the lights done and hot water tank changed over to gas and some exit signs, and that all went through okay. Well, actually, and then the second year we were going to apply for a multi-use facility to have a fitness center and municipal offices and all that kind of stuff. And probably about a week or two before the application deadline in the second year, the government canceled both programs. It just so happened that we had all our work done from the arena one, even though it was still months beyond, or sorry, before the end of the contract. So we got lucky there. But the other one, they just canceled it and didn't accept any applications. So now the Clean Air Partnership is an organization. They are asking again for submissions for what some of those greenhouse gas projects would have been, whether you applied for them or whether you didn't apply for them. So that's where that comes from. And we actually had an energy audit done on the municipal office and the fire department and the library at the time to compare or to see what we use now and to see what kind of technical energy systems you'd need to have a net zero building. So they also went up to the fitness facility. They didn't do the rest of the arena because I wasn't involved in this multi-use, but just to see kind of what we could save also from the fitness part. So we have that information, but we were never able to use it. So
Okay.
try and go after that, but we're actually going to try and add to that some of the other things we've talked about in the last year that we may be able to put in with that as well. So
Okay.
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember what it was all about. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer all your questions, Belinda? Do you have any others? You're good? Okay. Councillor Stefanik?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I apologize.
No, that's all right.
I cut him off, it's okay.
Okay.
In report regarding the water agency, obviously, there'll be extra costs for putting the chlorinated pucks to the effluent that will go into the back into the system, right? So there'll be extra cost involved.
Pat indicated it would only be $2,000 or $3,000, so it doesn't sound like it's going to have a big impact.
Okay, I thought it was higher. That's the reason I
Yeah,
asked the
no, sorry, I
question.
should have put that in there. I didn't think of that.
That's all good, thank you. Also, how many summer students were hired? Please confirm that, and they started this week?
Four were hired.
Four.
They'll start Friday to do their orientation, and then they'll start work on Monday. So we've got 2 more scheduled
Okay.
For July, if there's enough money in the budget, because there was a little bit of confusion, I think, with the granting program that we have to follow up on, because they gave dates of what we were covered for, but then they said it was so many weeks, but the weeks and the dates don't match. So there's a typo somewhere there. So if we have enough money in the budget to, because they've upped the Canada summer jobs program from 50% to 100%, and we are covered for 2, we just have to find out which length of time they're covering us for.
Okay.
If it's the longer length of time, we can actually hire those other 2 earlier and still be within budget. So we may be able to hire before July is what I'm getting at. So we'll see what that comes out of that.
My segue to my next one is, it looks like the pavilion facility needs a real bad of staining this summer, because it's the chair, as I'm sure Dwayne sees, especially the first 4 or 6 feet of the pavilion, it needs a real bad workmanship. But some have to be even scraped before you apply the stain. I'm sure that's in your capable hands, Dwayne. And the other one, I was glad, Gail, that you spoke to the people, the tree planters, put it simply, that they're going to have a system in place, as opposed to all coming to your community. There'll be certain people coming in and purchasing items. I like that. Thank you for doing that.
Welcome. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Gail.
one other thing I just wanted to add, since the report, the posting for the economic development intern went out again today. So hopefully we'll get lucky this time. I don't know what to say. And as far as the summer jobs go, we had 21 applicants. That is the most applicants I've ever seen in my years here.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's
I really
great
hope to
news.
be able
We were having so much difficulty getting the applicants. Like last year, did we not just have the amount of applicants for the amount of jobs?
Last year we reposted, well, I think.
Or reposted.
Reposted, yeah. And
wow.
So that's why I'm kind of hoping we can hire earlier, because I know there's people out there, like it's, you feel bad for the ones that don't get the jobs, but you can only have so many. So anyway.
That was
Yes, go ahead, Peter.
That was 21 applicants for the summer jobs?
Yep.
Well, that says something about the kids. That's good.
The most I ever remember is 14.
Okay, so back to Gail's report. Is there any other further comments or questions for Gail about the report from council? Okay, none. Just one question about the cleanup week, Gail. Are we going to be providing garbage bags for citizens or anything like that?
Yeah, I believe that went out today in a posting, that they're going to be left at the Public Works just by the gate. Just so that there's no exchange of, no personal exchange, and people can go and grab them there. I'm not sure if they're there yet. Dwayne would be able to answer that, but that's the plan.
Well,
yes, they are there.
Okay.
They're there. Okay, I'll include that in the council update. Okay, I had no further questions, so thank you, Gail.
Yep.
And we'll move on to our treasurer, well, you're still the treasurer right now. Did you want to speak to your report first before I open the floor up to questions?
No, I'll just take questions if there's any.
Oh, okay. So I open up the floor for the treasurer. Is there any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Thank you, Mayor. I like your comment, Melissa. Key priority finance, strategic goal. Township will ensure responsible fiscal planning to strike a balance between council's goals, community expectations, and available sources. That's the three-pronged approach, and I like it. Thank you.
That's the strategic goal that's from the strat plan. So it's I think it's a format that Stacy started to implement, and then I think all of our reports are going to be going in that direction.
I like it. Thank you.
I'm going to second that. I like that. I like that the mission statement, the vision statement's at the top, bringing us back to our keeping focus. Go ahead, the CAO.
I should have said that. As soon as Stacy had sent me her report, I immediately sent back, oh, I love it. So thank you, Stacy, for thinking of that, because I think it's really a big statement.
There we go. Right on. Thank you. I think you're getting thumbs up from everybody, Stacy. Okay. Any other questions for our treasurer on the treasurer's report? Okay, there being none, we'll move on. That was easy for Melissa. Okay, staff report for Public Works. Dwayne, would you like to speak to your report before I open the floor?
I have nothing to add. I'm open for questions.
Okay. Any questions for our Public Works Manager, Council? I see Councillor Stefanik.
For the, just going through it, sorry, I apologize. Going to get exact your quote here, or comments, pardon me. You're waiting further direction from council on the trailer, is that correct? When do you want the direction on that, Dwayne? Please let me know.
Sooner than later, whether we want to spend a large sum of money to fix it up, or we're going to do something else with the money. I'd like to know what your thoughts are.
Thank you. When will you share? Did you receive a quote for the hot box? When are you going to share that with council, Dwayne?
Sure can. Gail has them and Melissa has them, but I can prepare them for you.
For the budget preparations? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Drago. Yes, go ahead, Gail.
So a couple things, that money will likely come out of the modernization funds that we got from last year for the hot box detector. And I just wanted to let you know that Sherry's now on the line, so I don't know if you wanted to give her a chance.
Oh yes, I see Sherry's.
If you want to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Gail. Welcome to the meeting, Sherry. We're glad that you could join us. We did have our discussion on the water and sewer rates, but we are willing to spend some time if you have some questions about those, or if you have any open discussion, because there was open discussion. I'll let you speak, Sherry, and ask a question if you have one.
Well, I'm sorry that I had difficulty getting on, but I heard that the sewer and water are not going to increase.
That is correct. So what what we had come to is that our next meeting will pass the bylaw that has a 0% increase to the water and sewer rates. There will be a slight increase of 2% to the bulk water sale. And what was the third item, Melissa? Sorry.
That the additional 10,000 needed will come from reserve.
That's right, that the initial 10,000 will come from our reserve from the water and sewer. Thank you for that, Melissa. And you are welcome to comment, Sherry.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Okay, go ahead, CAO.
So Dwayne, did you want to speak a little bit to the reopening of the outdoor parks? Or I can if you prefer, whatever.
Well, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and talk.
Okay, so yesterday the provincial government was allowed for the reopening of outdoor recreational facilities such as tennis courts, basketball courts, soccer fields, baseball diamonds, skate parks, the use of picnic tables, no use of if there's any outdoor fitness equipment or anything like that, and nothing that is a team sport. So even the fields that are opening, like the baseball fields or the soccer fields, it's only for individual use or a use by a family. So we're just in the process of doing up some messaging for that to really stress the physical distancing is in effect. You know, on our CCG call today, we mentioned that this was going to be happening, and of course it's happening all over. So the health unit just basically said, please keep your messaging up, stress the physical distancing. You know, the virus is unpredictable, it's very contagious, and it's people that are asymptomatic are getting it. So people need to be aware that we don't want them to let their guard down. Just, you know, it's nice out and it just seems like nothing's wrong and it's summer and it's great, and people still have to realize that it's a dangerous virus, and they have to keep up the protocols. So that messaging will be going out tomorrow morning, and then Dwayne will open up the facilities that we're allowed to open. Did I miss anything?
Nope, you covered it all.
Okay.
I have one follow-up question. If first of all, I'll open up the floors if there's any questions about the parks for council. No? I just have one further follow-up question from Councillor Stefanik's comments. Were we waiting for the budget process? Is that why we never moved forward with deciding about the trailer? Is that what we were waiting on, or why did we push that to Councillor Kistemaker?
I had the same impression. Are you waiting for us to make decisions on the budget in order to go forward with a lot of things? Because that's the impression I got too.
Basically, do you want to spend the $20,000? It's going to cost $20,000 to $25,000 to fix that trailer up.
Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker Peter.
Just for clarification, Dwayne, that's the trailer that the office was in?
Correct.
Okay, no, just making sure.
So I definitely would rather make decisions than wait. I'm at a blank right now to even recall what our discussions were back then, so I'll have to re-look at those. And were we given options on where the public works would be, the offices? I'm trying to remember what was in the report and what discussions we've had, because we've had discussions about where the offices could go, but I can't remember what we've actually come to a decision on. Could you refresh my memory, Dwayne?
There was never an official place picked.
Okay, so
numerous discussions.
Right. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Gail. Was there any discussion when approximately 4 to 6 months ago, there was inclination to speak to Ministry of Transportation with the current building that they have on highway? I mean, I remember that very clearly. Number one, to use the facility for equipment. This is before Dwayne came on. Possible use of their offices, because I remember making comments to yourself and some ideas and thoughts. Did that go anywhere?
It did, but I'm going to let Dwayne speak to that. We had a call probably maybe 3 weeks ago. Hey, Dwayne, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, they wanted for myself to share the office, first of all, with their operation. We couldn't do any maintenance in the garage whatsoever. Any machine can't be leaking of any sort. Basically, we're going to use it as a parking garage. We still have to keep the other garage maintained and pay for all the costs on that, plus pay the cost to park our vehicles in that garage. That's all we really could have done with it. To me, it didn't make a lot of sense to pay to park our cars. It didn't make sense to me, basically. the conversation went basically with them that they wanted to keep that type of system, and us just to pay rent on the parking for our vehicles.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Kistemaker Peter first, and then Belinda.
I kind of backing Dwayne up on this one there. I agree with you, Dwayne, with the comment about just parking. And the chances are with older machinery, you know as well as I do, you're going to get oil leaks just because of the age they're in, and it's going to be nothing but trouble going forward with those kind of restrictions.
Correct.
Thank you, Peter. Belinda?
Are you using that garage at all? I mean, that trailer?
For a phone.
Okay, well then I say that put it out for surplus.
Gail, did you have a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, just getting back to the MTO for a minute. We did go back to them with, and Cheryl was involved in this, not in the phone call, but in the prior discussion. We did go back to them with a suggestion of we would buy, interested in buying the building if they wanted to sell it, and then we would rent to the lease to the highway highway maintenance people, and they're not open to selling that property at all. Not right now, anyways.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you. I did not know that.
Nope, that's good. I'm thinking, there is some missing information here for council, and to make a really good decision, if we could have, I'm wondering to Gail, would a report suffice for this on what was done at each phase, and then where would we put the suggestions for the offices, and then we can make a decision on that?
Yeah, I think we can do that, Adrian.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's move forward like that, and then that way and then the transparency and accountability is there as well for the residents, because they'll see the report with their agenda. Okay. Any other questions for the Public Works Manager? Okay, I have a couple of comments. The first one being, and firstly, I want to say that I don't say this to add pressure. I'm talking about action items about pothole inspection and the street surveys. I'm glad to see that they're completed and done. And I only bring this up because I have many discussions with residents about the state of our roads. And I would like to know, just from the staff perspective, what's the best plan to move forward, or what are the ideas you have to move forward to get our roads up to a better standard? And I don't try and put you on the spot. It's just I need to have this information, and I know we have some plans in that as well moving forward. So just looking for your comments on that, Dwayne.
Yep, no problem. Well, first of all, there are sections of the road that are worse than other sections in town, but you have to keep in mind your good sections will be your worst sections eventually too. So you have to do everything at one, basically moving forward, do a little bit of each type thing. You gotta do your best. If we plan to do substructure as we go, all the infrastructure underneath the road should be done at the same time. To pave a road to tear it up 2 weeks later is not the best scenario. So we have set up for some engineering to be done. The engineers come in and analyze our roads and see what it would take to fix them up. What's the plan in progress right now? We're trying to analyze everything to make sure we make the right decision and not waste a lot of money.
Okay, and that follows up my follow-up question was, are we looking at doing some sort of feasibility study or plan so that we're not wasting money, like we end up with a good plan? Correct. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go to Gail and then John. Go ahead, Gail.
So I just wanted to say FCM's come out with another round of asset management planning just on Friday. So we'll be looking at that. One of the things, well, I'm hoping one of the things that we can do is a road survey. Well, it's asset condition surveys. So I'm thinking that would fit into there. So it's one way. I mean, we need to do it either way, but one way we could do it and not have to pay for it or only pay part of it would be that. So that's one thing that we're also looking at applying for.
Oh, good news. Okay. Councillor Stefan or Peroff, sorry.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, the question for Dwayne again. Back to his report, I'm curious to know GPSs for vehicles. What is the expected cost, and do we really need it, like for a town like this?
Due diligence, for due diligence, we definitely need it. That way I can verify if a sander was out in a certain area. For due diligence is definitely worth it, and the cost is not great. Like, I think it's $19 a month per unit.
Oh.
It's definitely worth having for due diligence.
Thank you, John, for that question. Have we ever looked into too, does it affect our insurance rates when we have GPS? Like, do we get a discount or something because we have them?
That we did not look into.
Okay, I just wondering. Go ahead, Peter Kistmaker.
It's just a comment on that question, Madam Mayor. I know with our trucking company, for exactly what Dwayne said, due diligence, and also for scheduling purposes, I GPS. I got trackers on a lot of my units, and I fought with the insurance, and it's zero effect on it.
Okay.
But for due diligence alone, it's you can go back. I know Dwayne could probably correct me on it, but with our program, we can go back a week at a time if we want. So if there was ever any dispute on where one of the trucks was or whatever, if I get a complaint, I can download that particular unit and I can print it off on a spreadsheet, and everything's right there. It even shows the speed. It shows everything. It's really good for. It's like a permanent nanny looking after every machine.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Stanek.
Yeah, just to give the history, the new council, previous council, first year I was on council 5 years ago, we discussed this in depth to go forth with GPS, which never happened. So I'm very glad that Dwayne brought it up, and I support it 100%.
Okay, any other further comments or for Dwayne? Okay, I just my last comment for you, Dwayne, was the sharing of costs for the dust control had I can't remember the history, so maybe Gail will have to help us out on this too. Did they share costs with us previously, or is this a new thing?
Yes, they did last year.
They did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Do we still have calcium left from last year? And is it still good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's a wrap up for questions for Dwayne, and we'll move on then. Okay, moving on to our Economic Development Officer. And Stacy, do you have any comments to your report before I open up the floor?
So I'll just give a quick update on the OP and comprehensive zoning bylaw. So we've had some discussions with JL Richards, and we have a plan going forward for the public and stakeholder consultation, even though the difference with the COVID pandemic. So we've kind of figured that out tentatively. So we have the dates for the focus groups, the visioning session, the open house, the public meetings all scheduled tentatively. So far it's going really good. So they'll present at the council meeting on the 27th. I think that's it for that. And then I don't really have anything else to speak to my report if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm looking forward to that meeting. Any questions for Stacy, Council? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Stacy, good report. Thank you. FED 3.6 specifically, I'm looking at the recreation needs surveys completed. I think it's crucial that council discuss this at the next future meeting. And I mean, it was a lot of time and effort by our members, our community that they put into this survey. I think we should be looking at it and to see which way as council decides, especially for recreation facilities. I think it's a good, valuable piece of information. And I thank you, Stacy.
Okay, that report will come up again on 11.2 in action items. And we can make a plan there. Any other comments for the Economic Development Officer? Okay. So that wraps up the reports. So the motion was moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council, the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain does hereby acknowledge receipt of the manager's reports provided at the regular meeting council held on Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. I put the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? There being none, carried. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for all your hard work. And we have one resolution that's coming out of the Economic Development Officers. Do we want to pass that now, or I saw it again later in the minutes?
It shouldn't be in there later, I don't think.
No, it's not. Sorry, I was confusing it with 16.5. Thank you. Okay, so it's a mover and a seconder, please, for the motion, Peter and John. Had we had a discussion? I'm under the assumption I still have to read this out currently, Gail, or do we pass it? Do I have to read the whole resolution? You're on mute.
I would think it should be read out because not everybody may be able to actually access the documents.
Yeah, true enough. Thank you for that. Okay, moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Peroff. Whereas Council commends the federal and provincial governments for their leadership and collaboration in taking swift action to slow the spread of COVID-19, protect the health of our communities, and support citizens through this unprecedented period. And whereas Council acknowledges and appreciates the financial supports put in place to date to help ensure continuity of operations for many business enterprises, Council has identified some gaps in the programming. In particular, some small businesses, including many in the seasonal tourism sector, that due to their size or the fact that they have not yet hired for the season, do not meet the criteria for assistance and are at risk of failing or suffering long-term financial effects. And whereas Northern Ontario offers extraordinary opportunities to experience nature at its best, and as such, tourism is an integral part of our Northern Ontario economy, offering unmatched hunting and fishing opportunities and wildlife experiences unique to our region. And whereas increased and targeted business support from your governments would help companies to survive this crisis and drive economic growth and job creation during recovery. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council, the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain does hereby respectfully recommend that your government support the following initiatives in order to preserve critical jobs and businesses and further reinforce the resiliency of our economy. Eliminate the revenue criteria for the 70% wage subsidy established by the Government of Canada, enabling any businesses or non-profit organizations that filed taxes in 2019 to apply for this benefit. Rapid deployment and approval of this subsidy through established vehicles is critical to help firms to stretch their cash and survive this crisis. Bolster support for all municipalities providing vast economic supports to companies and communities, while grappling with the unprecedented loss of tax revenue, jobs, and revenue-generating programs and services, including continued investment for strategic infrastructure projects. Provide targeted support to marginalized entrepreneurs and business owners to significant risks to propel critical progress and economic growth, including but not limited to women, Francophone entrepreneurs, to SLGBTQ+ community, Indigenous communities, persons with disabilities, and racialized people. Establish emergency support and aid packages for tourism and related industries with strong sustained investment in tourism marketing, support for conventions, festivals, sports and cultural events, and incentives for Canadians to travel domestically, all of which is critical to maximize the performance, competitive, and economic impact of these sectors post-COVID-19. Continue to evolve and implement buy local and buy Canadian procurement policies across the economy, helping to maximize cash flow, supply chains, and sustainability for Canadian firms and support the local businesses. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Vic Fedeli, Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, the Honourable Rod Phillips, Minister of Finance, the Honourable Sylvia Jones, Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, Carol Hughes, MP Algoma, Manitoulin Kapuskasing, and Michael Mantha, MPP Algoma Manitoulin, for their consideration and support. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, moving on to 11, correspondence action items. 11.1. We had received this and decided to put it on action items due to, we don't have a board in our community currently, but we have discussed in the past about having a board. Is there any discussion on the report from AMO? Go ahead, John Paroff, Councillor Paroff.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mayor. Just reading it, I think it's a good idea that we fully participate and support this initiative as a community. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Belinda Kissmaker, Councillor Kissmaker. You're on mute, Belinda.
I know in the past we had a group within that worked with the OPP before. So this, we don't have that anymore in the community, or, okay. And how long have we had it?
Go ahead. Oh, Councillor Stefanik knows.
I can speak to that. Lorraine was the chair for that committee for about 6-7 years. The committee was basically an ad hoc committee. They had no control. They had no recommendation to the OPP. They're basically fundraised and give suggestions and hints. It was a non-action committee. That's where it was. At the end, when a new person came in charge of this detachment, they were not really wanted, in my opinion, and because they had no authority. This is different. When there's a board, they recommend on hiring and firing, budgeting, two different things.
Yes, and to follow that up, we've had really good communication with the OPP. They've sat down and talked to us. I'm not sure how many times, Gail, over the last year. I'm thinking almost every quarter, or definitely twice last year. And even through this crisis that we're going through, they've really supported our community, and they've reached out when our complement of officers was below what we needed in the community. They were, I think, arranged that meeting back in September, Gail, was it? When they came to us and told us our complement would be back up by February. And my concern is, though, is the board would give some strength to regulate that, where you would have, in the consistency for our community moving forward, there would be set guidelines and everything. So if, and I hope this never happens, that we don't have such great people to work with, that there would still be some consistency and some ways to follow through to make sure that our complement's full or what have you in the community, and some scheduling as well. And they are coming up with some changes in the future. We had discussed about the GPS system in the vehicles, where they are being dispatched by the closest vehicle now. So it might be a good idea as things evolve for us to have a board in the future. Do you want to speak to that, Gail? Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that when we spoke with, and I don't even remember who it was, if it was Sergeant Borden or if it was the commander, but they indicated that they weren't sure at that time if we would have a local board or if it would be like a Superior East board. So, I mean, a local board obviously would have more impact for us, but I don't think that's been figured out yet. So, and in this document, it says that there's public consultation happening, which has actually, they've put on hold while the pandemic's on, but it's going to open back up afterwards. So I think we need to keep that in mind and submit whatever, you know, our thoughts are at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at the document under structure, boards, and local say, it says that they are going to extend the police governance to about 200 municipalities. So I'm assuming we'd be in that bracket because we currently don't have a board. They're talking about consolidating multiple boards as well. So maybe just have a voice of how we want to see that play out as well. I'm wondering, Peter, did they talk about any of this at the meeting that you attended at the end of February?
Yes, they did. They were going on. They were just putting out feelers, and they didn't know what direction they were going for. Either it was going to be depending on the geography. So someone like Horn Payne might have a board all on their own because our policing needs may be more unique than others. And they were suggesting that if you were going to go to groups, like grouping up different towns, they would suggest that they'd be obviously side by side, but have similar issues. But with towns like Horn Payne and whatnot, we're off the beaten path, where White River is on Highway 17, and Hearst and Cap is all on Highway 11. So the policing needs would be very different from one another. So from what the preliminary initial stage, they were suggesting that it could be a combination of both, depending on what the comments that people put forward, obviously. So I think it is very important that us as a community do comment on if we want individual issues addressed, that if we do feel that we are more unique in our policing needs in other ways than other communities, then we should suggest going single community board. But that, I think it just gets bogged down in politics, and I can't see that going forward. But they were saying anything is an option right now, or a possibility.
Okay, thank you for that, Peter. So I'll open it up to, I'll put the question to Gail. What do you think with staff time and our current initiatives, what would be the best way forward with this?
I think just to have a submission ready for when the consultation opens up would be the best thing. So it doesn't sound like it's going to open up really soon, and then when it does, I'm sure it'll be in a decent amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in the next I don't know, maybe the end of like the second meeting in June, maybe we could come up with something.
And when you say, so you're looking for a structure of what council would like to see in our policing?
Yeah.
Is that what, yeah?
Yeah.
Does council feel like that's enough time to come up with recommendations for how we'd like to see this evolve, so that we have submission with your ideas? Go ahead, Councillor Peter Kissmaker.
Just really quickly, the other, including yourself, Madam Mayor, and the other councillors, and even one Gail, please, and everybody else that's involved. What do you think? Are we unique that we should suggest being a standalone board, or because what comes with that is single, like one kind of single view on how things should be policed, and the beauty of having other communities involved on the same board is multi different views. You know what I mean? Like different ways to look at things. What are the suggestions? What do you think?
Good question. Good, glad to put it out there. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
In reading the report, though, it does kind of say that they're looking to keep it, the boundaries defined by the detachment, what detachment you're in. Not to say that that's the legal boundaries, that's their first impression of what to do. So yeah, we could ask for our very own little one. I'm not sure if that's going to go as far as, I don't know how big their detachment is here that we're in, but
I can answer that. That's we go from Chapleau, Wawa, Dubreuilville, White River, and Hornpain. That's the detachment.
okay, thank you.
Or catchment area.
We're satellite. We have satellites, and then Wawa is the head, is the detachment, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, I'm good with that. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Belinda Kissmaker.
I just see that they would want, if they're doing Chapleau, Wawa, White River, and Hornpain, I can see them wanting to make that a group.
Yeah.
Just like they've done with ADSAB and all the, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's imperative, though, that we put down on paper and maybe a resolution when the submissions puts out that what our needs are for our community, so that we're not lost into the bigger picture, and that we definitely want a seat, because we currently don't have one as far as my understanding. Wawa would have a board, but I don't think it includes us.
I agree.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
yes, it did. I agree with what you're asking to have a seat on it, but it does say in here, the way I read it was that all municipalities will have at least one seat.
Okay. That's in the
Yeah,
reorganized.
we'd have to watch for that. Yeah, sure.
Where are you seeing that, John? Is that number 5 under guiding principles?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But keep in mind, none of this, I don't think, John, is written in stone yet. From when I was in the meeting back in February in Timmins, they were stating this was all like just still open for suggestion, but it probably will be the way they go. And one community, one seat, that's a lot of that is going to go on population as well.
Yes, I agree. I don't want to get bogged down in the little things though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so council, if you can review this document and come back with the suggestions that we have for the second meeting of June, and then we can get that taken off and then we've done some proactive work on it. I see Councillor Stefanik would like to speak.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Drago.
Took me a while to find it. Item number 6. Thank John. Did you read item number 6? It's kind of interesting. I thought I heard this in the media. They only wish that municipal staff reps, not elected officials. Number 6. I couldn't find it till now. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Municipal officials they don't sit on OPP boards.
They're excluded. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, is that a good action plan? So the second meeting of June is
17th.
Thank you, Gail. 17th. Okay, first bit of homework there, council. Okay, so moving on. 11.2. You have the resolution with your package. If I can get a mover and a seconder. Drago. Belinda. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the Council, the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain commissioned the Hornpain Economic Development Corporation to complete outreach and an engagement for the community under the Community Betterment Project. And whereas engaging recreation in our community is one of the areas that is included in the Hornpain outreach and community engagement. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council, the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain does not does hereby acknowledge receipt of the Hornpain Recreation Report and commits to further review and consideration of the suggested recommendations. I open the motion for discussion. And I discuss why I opened the motion is earlier when we were talking, it was brought up by Councillor Stefanik that we have a plan to utilize this moving forward. And my question, I have a question about this particular, was where does the staff see this fitting into with the strategic plan that we already have passed? Just so that I can focus my energy on it as well, and council can.
I think we're gonna have to look at it at one of our SMT meetings and have a good discussion about it. And our agendas have been really, really full, so we haven't gotten to that yet. And
Okay.
it won't be next week for sure. That agenda is already full as well. So
Yeah.
We will
Well,
look at it, but
I think our facilities are pretty much shut down till we'll probably be looking at the fall for the curling rink and the arena and that sort of thing. So we could probably look into this later in the summer.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Stefanik, did you have a comment?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. If you remember, the reason for this report was when our SD report came originally, there was not much focus on recreation and parks and facilities. And that was one of the reasons we had EDO, if you recall, a few months ago, to follow through with this. So we must act on this. Once the staff is ready, the staff looks at it, studies, analyzes it, and we should spend some time, even in the month of July, beginning of August, I think, if staff has time. I think it's crucial.
Yeah, and I think it would fit in. I'm not sure with our strategic planning where our recreation, I think we called it a recreation master plan. Was it culture and recreation master plan?
Culture, yeah.
It would,
Culture,
so it would dovetail into that and whatever timelines we had placed on that.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried, none opposed. Okay, so we'll be revisiting that in the future, putting it into use. So moving on to correspondence information only. I need a seconder and a mover and a seconder, please. John. Peter. Moved by John Paroff, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornpain does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached with the agenda at the regular meeting of Council held on Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. And I open up the floor to the motion, and if anyone has any comments on any of those items from 12.1 to 12.7. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
Yes, just more out of curiosity, the Thunder Bay District Municipal League minutes, my name's not on there, but neither is Belinda's, and I'm wondering if this was Saturday, September 14th, and I can't remember if one of us attended. I did not attend. I think you attended though, didn't you, Belinda?
September 14th?
September 14th, yeah. In Dorian.
I did go to a meeting in Dorian. I thought it was earlier though.
Okay. Because nobody's name showed up in either one, so.
Yeah. Anyway, I did go to one.
Yes.
I thought it was earlier though, back in July, maybe June. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Any other discussion on items? I just had one question actually for Councillor Stefanik for the Porcupine Health board minutes. They're talking about this, the bucket shop, which is amazing because that company's been growing but they're doing this partnership with schools 4 to 12. I know our school boards don't, with grades 4 to 12, I should say. Our school is not in that district. Are we able to participate in that, or do you know anything further about that?
Yeah, it was only a now 45-minute meeting. What they wanted, the bucket shop, we have extra land as PHU in City of Timmins. We did not get the funding because the election occurred 3 years previous and the land is sitting there. We could not just go and have one up. We would have to put up the land for sale and tender it through properly. We're not sure what is going to happen. After all this, maybe all the health units will not be cut because they're doing tremendous amount of work with COVID-19 right across Ontario. So we're keeping the land for now. They are still going to wait for us to make a decision, the bucket shop. And yeah, they said it'll encompass anybody, even though it doesn't matter school boards. They are willing to work with anyone. They say even further southern Ontario. That's the comment they made.
Really? Wow. Maybe we can be a satellite community after they get their initial one set up. Go ahead, Peter Kistemaker.
Yeah, I think the bucket shop would probably get in on that, Cheryl, because they're owned by PECU, if I understand them correctly, and Warren Payne gives them an awful lot of business.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe there's some strategic planning we can do here. That's my only comment, so I'll be picking your brains.
There we go.
Okay, any other further comments on the information only? Yes, go ahead, Treasurer Melissa Chenier.
Just to follow up with John's inquiry, yeah, Belinda was at the Thunder Bay District Municipal League on June 8th and not September.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Right on. Okay. And I was just going to rub you guys. It was like, and why weren't you attending? I'm just kidding. Let's move on. Okay, let's, we have, okay, I read the motion. No other further comments. To accept the correspondence information only, I'll take it to a vote. All in favor? And there's no opposed, that's carried. Okay, moving on. $13 donations, there's none. 14 conferences, seminars, and training. This is the delegation requests for the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. I'll let Gail speak to this.
So just a couple of things as the AMO conference has gone virtual. So there will be some costs, but limited costs, of course. So I'm not sure if the people who were slated to go still want to attend or whatnot. So maybe that's a discussion that you can have to confirm that. And also just, I know the delegation requests actually haven't come out yet, but just looking for people to start thinking about what ministers that they'd like to meet with. They're still going to do those virtual meetings. So you don't have to decide right now, but just if you start thinking about it, then we can try and have something prepared a little earlier.
Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, I just spoke to Cheryl a while ago, and I said, even though I'm hoping my operation will occur prior to it, I will not be able to sit for 3 or 4 hours. Even to the point now, I'm looking at the time, I could sit another hour. I will not be able to get up for half an hour. I have to crawl on my knees first, so I just cannot attend. It's too much physical task on my body and becomes psychological more than physiological. And I did apologize. I just can't do it. I'm hoping I'll be under the knife by then. So
Okay,
I will not be attending.
that makes sense, Drago.
Even if it was in Southern Ontario, I would not be traveling. I mean, I made the decision. I said in June, prior to June, that's what I did. I wouldn't go either or.
Yes, thank you for that, Drago. Yes. And one other thing, actually, Gail and I did discuss this about our meetings and sitting for quite a length of time, and I completely forgot about it at the opening of the meeting, about discussing a break time, and so that we have a scheduled break time that people know it's coming, we can get up and stretch and that sort of thing. So I don't know if we want to schedule that now for If we don't end up in close before 8 o'clock, we'll have it at 8 o'clock. Okay.
It's a
Council
good
good
idea,
with that?
Cheryl.
Okay.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. Gail and I had discussed it. Okay, so do we incur any fees? Do we have a cancellation? Are we able to cancel the one just outright, Gail? Is that, have they allowed people to do that? You're on mute.
I didn't actually look into that, but I can have Shanna look at that and see if there's a cancellation fee or not. If there is, it's usually not too much anyways. I don't even know if they would do that in this circumstance.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, go ahead, Treasurer.
It says a partial refund will be, if you registration cutoff is December or July 6th for cancellation, and then after, or you can transfer it till July 6th. So you have up till July 6th to decide.
I'm sure, sorry, Mayor, through to you, to Gail. I'm pretty certain I sent you an email, Gail, a while ago that I couldn't attend. I'm quite certain.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the one thing I do have a question about, which would be pretty interesting, is if we do have delegations that we want to do, are we allowed to have more people attend the virtual delegation if we just have one person attending the virtual conference?
Okay, we'll check it out.
Yeah, because why I asked, put this out there, Council, is I have in the past, when you have many delegations, you're always in a conflict with some of the sessions that you're missing out on, and it gets quite busy. You like you're running from one meeting to the next. So and I think that was part of our reasoning for scheduling, was to prepare people for delegations as well, was it not?
It was, yep.
Okay. Well, if we do want to do a delegation, or if we have some issues that we want to bring up, I would definitely be willing. And it's Stacy that was involved with that? Is that, from your perspective, is that still a go on for your management team?
I think so. I haven't heard anything to the contrary, Stace. Are you willing?
Oh yeah, I'm willing.
Okay.
So do we want to have somebody lined up to go if we can't have more than the one person in the delegation? Like, do you want to decide that now, or you want to think about it for the next meeting? It's not really a rush.
Yeah, let's think about it for the next meeting, and then we can transfer that. I don't mind being in the delegation. If there's, I was talking today, planning another conference, and with these virtual conferences, and it does say that there's many features that will be added. And so I don't know exactly what all these features are that AMO is looking at adding. So it could be very dynamic in the end. So yeah, I think we should just have a further discussion maybe in that second meeting in June, and then get we might know more by then.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so moving on. Oh yes, go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Just for you to Gail. Gail prepared excellent reports for the last 3 years for AMO. I know for a fact most of the points that were presented by various council members were never met by the province. So if you put all those reports together, I'm sure 90% was not even met what we requested, and some of pretty crucial stuff. So instead of redoing the whole reports, extrapolate what is in there, what we received, what we received, and share it with council and go from there, instead of getting all the input all over again, because it's the same old roads, infrastructure, on and on. Thank you.
Okay, that was in reference to us deciding whether we wanted to do new delegations.
Plus the ones that were over the last 4 or 5 years that they were never met by the province in any way, satisfied our needs, financially or otherwise.
Okay. Gail, you had a comment?
No.
No?
See, the good reports, by the way, they're like a Bible, and I think it's good to do. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Could we, would we be able to get a copy of those for council to look at ahead, like after the meeting, just,
Yep.
okay, thank you. Okay, so there's no, so that's done. There's no committee reports, and we're moving on to new and other business, 16.1. Do you want to speak to that, Gail, or?
I don't think I have too much more to say other than what I spoke about with the parks and the comments from the health unit this morning. The only other thing that came up at our CCG meeting, and I think probably most of us have noticed it ourselves, is in one way or another, whether it's consciously or not, is the tendency for maybe people letting their guard down now, because it does seem, it just doesn't seem like there's anything sort of out there that's a threat. And a couple of the comments, well, from hospital staff and from health unit staff this morning or this afternoon were, the messaging for so long has been stay home, stay home, stay home, don't go out, like, only go out to get groceries or to go to work, and stay home, stay home. And now it's kind of turned, and they kind of want to encourage people to go outside, but to do it safely at physical distancing, for exercise purposes and for mental health purposes. So I think it's going to have to be a real shift in people's thinking. And I think there's just a big concern out there that people will just get a little bit lax, or just start sort of seeing people again and socializing, and not even really realizing maybe how close they come to somebody. So I think just targeting our messaging, really pushing that the physical distancing needs to be kept, and that people don't always look or seem like they have the virus, and people need to sort of keep that front of mind, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely portrayed today in the meeting. Just to follow up with that too, there is a video online, and when we can get it onto the YouTube channel, we'll have it there as well, with Constable Trevor Tremblay. So we did an interview, and I have had really good response from it. It was well done in the sense that he was very, when he answered the questions, it showed how much we can get together with people, and what's the limits and what's required, and what they can set fines for and charges for, and that sort of thing. So I think it really added some clarity. So, and we are going to do an update tomorrow. I've posted that on Facebook, an update for the COVID-19 situation in our community and the surrounding areas, plus any updates from council tonight as well. So I think that was pretty much it from the meeting, eh, Gail?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, unless there's any questions from council. There being none, okay, we'll move on. 16.2, council meeting dates. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Drago, Peter. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the council, the corporation, the township of Hornpain does hereby agree to hold regular council meetings in the council chambers or virtual meeting room if required on the following dates and times for the second half of 2020. Wednesday, July 15th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Wednesday, August 12th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Wednesday, September 16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Wednesday, October 21st, 2020 at 6 p.m. Wednesday, November 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. and Wednesday, December 9th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Any discussion on the motion? I'll put it to vote. All in favor? Any opposed? There being none, carried. Okay, and we're moving on to 16.3. Organizational structure. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? John? And a seconder, Belinda? Moved by John Paroff, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas Council commissioned a comprehensive service delivery review, which report was completed and accepted by Council on September 30th, 2019. And whereas one of the recommendations, HR 01, was for Council to adopt a revised organizational design to promote employee empowerment and to streamline operations. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain, does hereby adopt the attached organizational design chart, noting that the following changes have been made to job titles. Treasurer changed to Client Service Manager / Treasurer. Bookkeeper / Cashier changed to Accounting Clerk / Deputy Treasurer. Secretary / Receptionist changed to Administrative Assistant. Be it further resolved that all job descriptions have been reviewed and will be kept current by the Chief Administrative Officer. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
I'm looking at the CEO's report, and under the financial consideration, approximately 6,000. How approximate is that, Gail?
That's, it should be good. The only way it would go up was if the wages go up. So that's for the extra part-time position at the arena, and some training for the, not training, a small wage increase for a deputy treasurer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions on either the report or the motion? So this organizational chart, once it's approved, it'll be up on our website?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. One question I had was, would the Municipal Service Corps be similar to the library if it is implemented? So it would be a dashed line off to the MSC CEO and their board and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I would double check about it, but I would think it would be the same sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Councillor Stefanik, you had another question? No? Okay. Okay, any further comments or questions on the motion? I'm going to put it to a vote. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Are any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to 16.4, Nagagami Forest Management Plan. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Peter? A seconder? John? Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation, the Township of Hornpain, does hereby provide a formal written submission, copy attached to both the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Forestry and First Resource Management Group on the Stage 3 draft of the 2021-2031 Nagagami Forest Management Plan, identifying values that they would like to see protected for the long-term benefit of the community. Okay, and we wanted to add comments to that draft. There we go. And you can see the draft comments. I open the motion up for further comments. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
Yes, I just want to say you did a great job in summarizing everything that was really discussed. And the goal of this is to just open up the door and make sure discussions happen. Right? It's not a final plan of demands. It's more of being aware, and they're opening the door for discussion for us, right?
Yes, and there's another public consultation session in the fall. So.
Yeah.
I see under concern number 6, harvest area 25, question mark.
Oh, I didn't
Did you
have,
have a question there?
yeah, I couldn't see the map on the other side of Cree Lake Road. And I wasn't sure if
Oh,
it's the
okay.
same number.
Okay. I don't have that map in front of me. So we'll put the correct number in there before we submit?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Gail.
Is there anything else anyone wants added in there or?
Just to let council know, I did have a meeting with the forest management team yesterday afternoon, and why I reached out to them was because in our community improvement planning last year, early last year, that task team discussed the possibility of opening up or trying to open up in the future lots for sale, bigger lots, like going after some of the crown lands, say on First Government Road. And so what we had the discussion was the road that they're proposing to get into lots, the harvest area, and I'm going off my memory right now, 120, oh, actually, let me look at the map. It's right here. Why am I doing that? Okay, harvest blocks 123, the blocks north of Government Lake Road, and the block 127 that not the Buttercup Trails block, because there's two kind of areas there in that 127 block. So the area that's outside of the Buttercup Trails, they're proposing building a road up from Hornpane Creek Road up to the 127 block, and then up to past our First Government Road into the 123 block. So my questions that I posed to them was, can the municipality work with them if we were to take over the road or a portion of the road that goes from First Government up to the 123 Wicksteed block? Would that be possible? And can we push the harvesting of these blocks, say, into the 5th year of the plan, so that we can get all of our planning done? So our official plan and our community improvement plan would be finished, and then it would open up and give us some time to do that. They were open to all the discussions. They were just more looking at if they were to create the road from First Government up to the 123 block to the north, that there is potential blocks in the next plan of that gray area between 123 and First Government Road. So when they make the roads, they take into account all the trees they're going to harvest from there and split the cost for the road for that whole area. So if we were to take some of that, or able to purchase some of that crown land, or however you have for bigger lots for sale, that would be one thing. So this is all just preliminary discussion, but if we were able to push those harvests of 127 and 123 further into the plan, so that we have the opportunity to have time to get all of our planning done. And talking on the call with Steve Thurick, he was saying that we could potentially too maybe create the road so that it would go in behind Cedar Point, because we had talked possibly about having camping out there eventually, like in further years. And so they were open for discussion on that. So that would be my only recommendation to the draft plan is, can we put in the comments, and I'll do this on my own as well, is that those blocks 127 and 123 get harvested further in the management plan, so that we have time to get all of our ducks in a row with all of our planning, and maybe we'll end up with some really good synergies to make our community set it up for really good prosperity. So, and further that, I just got the document. Jeff Barton from the team shared with me. I'll just list the name of the document. And he had gone through a process where communities another community. I don't think they were successful because of the size of land they were going after, but there is a guide that I'll share with Gail for the rest of council. It's called a Guide to the Acquisition of Crown Land to Support Municipal Economic Development. So anyway, that was, I just put that out there for council, that these were some of these discussions we had on our task team, and we had talked about, because especially now with the 100-kilometer food diet and the pandemic and trying to have food security within our area, having local farms and that sort of thing might be where we want to look at too for planning. So that's some of my reasoning behind pushing the harvesting of these blocks so that we can create some good synergy. So any comments on that or discussion? It'd buy us some time as well. Go ahead, Councillor Peter Kissmaker.
I like that idea, Madam Mayor. I'm thinking, right, we talked earlier about the strategic plan and the CIP about zoning in for what's the term, homesteading, and that was one of the
yes.
stuff we talked about. And I think if it was to be pushed back to the 5th year, that would give us time to get our ducks in a row, like you were suggesting.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yes, that was right. We did talk about that too, about homesteading and that sort of allowing, and it goes back to allowing, it diversifies our tax base and it diversifies what people can do in Hornpain. So
yeah.
So any other further comments? Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
Yeah, just to let you know that it is a 10-year plan, so it's a 10-year forecast, not just a 5-year. So if you really wanted to extend it beyond the 5 years, you could do that too, because they'll go in groups, say, like phase 1 is the first 5 years, phase 2 is the second 5 years.
Okay.
So if we don't want them to be in there for the next, from the first 5-year period, then we can just say, no, go and cut it in the second 5 year.
Okay, so implement it into phase 2 of the plan.
If that's what council decides, like that is quite a long time anyways, because it doesn't start till 2021, so 5 years would be 26, right?
Right. Can we recommend that it's in the latter part of phase 1? Is that a legitimate recommendation, John?
Oh yes, absolutely. Just let them know that
Yeah, because I'm thinking in 5 years, because then, like you're saying, 5 years from now plus the extra year, that's actually 6 years.
Yeah.
I think it might be a 4 or 5 year timeline. I'm not sure. I look for council's direction on that, because I don't know how quickly, maybe we should move it into that second phase, the first part of the second phase.
With everything you have going on right now, you might want to put it in the second phase.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, so if we can do that.
I agree.
Thank you, council. Okay, is there any other further comments that you want to add to the submission list? And are we going to make the submission list available to the public with our resolution? Or is it on our agenda package as well? You're muted, Gail.
Here I am trying to be considerate. It is on the draft. Sorry, the draft is with the agenda package. So it would just be the addition of that pushing the harvest for the 123 and 127 will be on.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I'll no other further comments, and we're 4 minutes past our break here as well. And I'm going to put it to a vote then. All in favor? Okay, any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you for all your hard work, Gail, and the staff on that. Thank you. Okay, so we'll pause now for 5.
Cheryl, we have we have 2 more items before the in camera, so let's finish those off. and then go in camera, and then have a rest after this before we go in camera. Suggestion, right? 2 more items.
Okay, and we have council committee updates.
Yeah, that should be short.
Okay, and how's council? I'm going to just take a roundabout here. Are people okay to continue, and then we'll do a break between sessions?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on. 16.5.
I think you're right. I think that's on there twice for some reason.
Okay.
That was our our what do you call that? Initiation skills. We didn't have our expert doing it this time.
Okay, that's fine. So 16.6 council updates, if we can do a roundtable, and I'm just going to call out each councillor, and if you don't have anything, you can just state that at the time, and I'll start with Councillor Paroff.
Yeah, it was a pretty slow week. We ended up having our LCC meeting, but which went well. We didn't get into the FMP discussions at all, though. And just today, I attended the ARDN webinar on a primer affordable housing today, and which went very well. It was with our Zane and Ardeen or something. It was about 20, I think there was like 40 people online, but it was pretty much the same thing as a sustainable housing initiative that he has. And yeah, that was about it. I was just thinking, over the last since the last meeting there, we had a while ago had discussed about propane and natural gas and stuff in this town. Is that kind of pushed to the back for now until the COVID thing gets going, or?
I'll give that to Gail. Gail?
I think there were 2 separate things. We put our expression of interest in, and they're not really looking at, I think they were just looking for people who may be interested in the future, and they're not doing it right now, that particular project. So our name's in there, and they'll contact us when and if and when it's feasible for us, or actually not feasible for us, feasible for them to come in here.
Okay, thanks. And my last little question, I guess, is the broadband. Is that on hold until further notice, or is that moving along? Or
There's still.
Okay, Stacey? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Cheryl. There's still a working group that's working on the preparation of the applications. So the next meeting is June 18th.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. That's it for me.
You've got me thinking now, John. I just have a follow-up question for that. Stacey, did the application get put in on the March 27th? The main.
I can pretend I know the answer to that.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I think so, but I don't remember.
Yeah, that's fine. There's been so much going on.
Initial application, though, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you, Stacey. Okay, further updates from council. We'll go to Councillor Belinda Kistemaker.
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you, Belinda. Councillor Drago-Stefanik.
2 quick items, both COVID-19. A request to the treasurer. Can you please keep a tally, direct cost to municipality, anything regarding COVID, for signs, staffing that's directly related to the COVID-19 for the municipality or foreign pain that costs us money? I'm seeing other municipalities are keeping direct costs, so there's a possibility maybe reimbursed by the province later on. So anything that's related to, even remotely related, that the staff spend specific amount of time or signs were purchased, something to think about, please.
Just a follow-up to that. I believe we have been calculating costs. I'll let Melissa answer, but I think it's also part of our emergency planning, is it not? Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, we have been keeping track of the costs.
Great, thank you. Just want to make sure. And
Yeah,
the
and
other
your second one? Oh, go ahead.
COVID-19, this afternoon at the CCG meeting, there was some discussion on the test being taken in Hornpain. By the time they arrive back to Hornpain, the person is negative or positive between 3 and 5 days. I'm going to get specific data. I have a meeting, electronic meeting with the PHU Board of Health next Thursday. I'm going to ask the question of Dr. Catton, and we'll get precise answers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarification on that for council, at the meeting we were talking about trying to quicken the testing period for, especially for our frontline workers, and to get quicker results as the province opens up. There's definitely quite a concern that if there's a lag time in our results, that we could possibly be in a position where the virus is active in our community and we wouldn't know for upwards. The maximum that we found out today was 5 days has been the maximum it's taken to get test results back. The average is between 3 and 5. So that's what Councillor Stefanik's referring to. And thank you for bringing that to the board and getting some questions, Drago, or answers. Okay, moving on. Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Peter Kistemaker, Councillor Kistemaker, go ahead.
There's been nothing going on, obviously, with the pandemic. The only thing I can maybe make comment on is I finished up my list of people to call, and amazing feedback from it. Positive feedback. I've been having people come up to me on the street and just comment on how, obviously from a distance, comment on how they enjoy the phone calls from not just myself, from all of us, and it was a great idea. It's well received.
Right on. Good job, councillors and staff, for getting us all the names. Okay, is that everything?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Right on. From my perspective here, it's busy. Through this crisis, I see areas where we definitely have them in our plan, and I'm glad to see them in our plan. The one is our communication policy. I can see where in a crisis, it's hard to stay on top of everything you want to communicate out to the public, and also how messages can get misconstrued. So I'm glad to see that that's on our strategic plan over the next 3 years to get that straightened out. And why I mention that is it's nice to have for residents to know when updates are coming, what's coming, and how to manage and not overwhelm staff and not overwhelm myself. And so it's been a learning curve. I did have a meeting today with the Ontario Good Roads Association, and they are looking at planning their conference. I'm on the conference committee, so we had some really good discussions on virtual meetings and what people would like to see at the conference, and we're already looking at possibly holding a complete virtual conference for next year. I will be providing a report from that meeting. It's the technical services report, and what we're looking for is ideas from staff regarding what they want to see on the technical sector. And there are ideas from the past conferences, so I'm going to send those out through the mayor's groups, and hopefully we get some good answers back so that our questions for the North are answered and we have some sessions on that. I alluded to the OPP video that's out there. I want to just give a big shout out to Trevor Tremblay for participating in that on behalf of our community and all of our residents. I also want to thank the residents for participating in the Facebook Live that we've been having. Our last one, we didn't have that many questions. I will continue to do them as long as there's questions coming in. And tomorrow, I'll just do the update for this meeting and for our COVID-19 CCG group meeting. I can't think of anything else unless there's questions from council. And I do want to thank the forest management team at First Resource Management for all their work that they've been doing with our community and preparing us and informing us. So that's all I have. Any questions? Yes, go ahead, Gail.
This has nothing to do with your report, but I just was wanting to follow up on the arts, culture, and recreation plan and strategy, because I have the strat plan here beside me. So
Okay.
the timeline for that was 2021 to 2022. Not to say that we can't, look at the report and address some things, but the bigger planning is scheduled to come later.
Okay, okay. So maybe we could just do a preliminary talk, have a look at a preview, and then that'll give you some direction on that bigger planning later.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we have it all for that.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, well, with that, 17 resolutions, 18 bylaws, 19 motions and notice of motions, and 20 announcements. There's none or we have resolved them all. And we're moving to closed session. So we'll take a mover and a seconder, and then we will break after this and set the time for when we'll be in closed. So I need a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and John. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting at 8:16 p.m. be closed to the public in order to discuss the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Advice that is subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, pursuant to sections 239(2)(c) and F of the Municipal Act 2001. All in favor? And that's carried, none opposed. Okay, I'll set the time for 8:30. Does that that's enough time for everyone?
Yeah, good enough for me. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you at 8:30.